Welcome back everyone to the Hello World Guide. This is episode number 3 of the Unreal Engine beginner series, and in this video we are going to get started get started with our game. In the last video we just learned an overview of how the interface of Unreal Engine works. So now we are going to get to the actual creation of our game. So for that, let's just jump straight into it. I'm going to create a new folder here and enable it as map, because we are going to create our own map. I'm just going to hit Control N, and this should open up the new level dialog. So in here you want to select the default level, because that's basically just an empty level with a sky and a floor. And what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to select the light and make it movable in the details panel. And then I'm also going to select this floor, and I'm going to go under this details panel, and I'm going to scale it up to be 5 on the X and 5 on the Y, so that we have got a bit larger surface for our player to actually walk on. Now I'm going to save this map in our map folder as a game map. I guess you can name it whatever you like. It creates 2 assets, that don't worry about this one, well, that's pretty much it we need. So now if I play, we obviously have got the default pawn which can fly around and nothing else. So now we need to implement our own player. Now the idea is that especially if you do not use like C++, then in Unreal Engine you build stuff using blueprints. And I'm going to create a folder called blueprints here. A blueprint is basically like a system in which you have got like a bunch of components and properties and a bunch of code arranged in like not arranged kind of the way that code normally is, like you don't type, you use nodes and then connect them. And this is a lot easier for most designers, and this is what I would recommend to use if you are using Unreal Engine. Unless your game is like highly intensive or something, you don't really need to you are not creating that kind of game right now, so it's fine to just use blueprints. And in blueprints, what you do to create one is you just hit blueprint class, and then you need to select a parent class. Now this, if you are familiar to object-oriented programming, you will know what I am talking about. But in case you are not, a parent class is just like a class that we inherit all the properties from. Basically, we are creating a blueprint based on another blueprint. Now, what blueprint we want to base our blueprint on? So you can see we have got a pawn here. A pawn is basically every player in Unreal Engine is a pawn, but instead of using just a bare pawn with nothing, we are going to use a character. A character, as you can see, a character is a type of pawn that can walk around. So we are going to use that gives us a lot of things built in. I'm just going to hit character, and that should create the blueprint. I'm going to name this blueprint player. Okay, then I'm going to open this blueprint up, and this is the blueprint window. And by the way, this opens up in a tab. For you it will open up in a new window by default. If you don't want that and want to open it up in tab, go under editor preferences and make sure that this is set to main window. Okay, so we have got the player right now here, and what we want to do is we want to learn the interface of this blueprint before we get to actually creating some code to make our player actually move around and do stuff. Now in here it is not like something difficult. You can see we have got our toolbar with all of the standard buttons in here like play and stuff. If you click play in here, it will open up in a separate window, and in here we have got the components. So blueprint consists of basically a lot of components, and here in the components panel we can see all of our components. We have got a capsule collision component which basically defines the shape for our player, and a couple of other components. And we have got this details tab which shows the detail of the whole blueprint or the particular selected component. Now in here we have got our my blueprint tab, which is basically used for like actually programming the blueprints. We will get to using that in a second. And for now you can see we have got our player component, which as I said before contains the capsule component for the definition of shape. This contains an arrow component as well, which basically tells you which direction the player is pointing. It will not show in the game. And we have got a mesh which we can actually set to something, but you don't need to worry yourself with that too much. So currently basically the game we are going to like work out right now is going to be first person. So in order to create a first person game, what we need is we need a camera. We don't actually need a body right now because a first person game can do without a body of the player. So we are going to just leave it empty with this, and this won't actually show in the game. This is just for collision detection. And what we need to add in here is a component called camera, which actually defines the point of the eyes basically of the player from which the player will be seeing. So what you need to do is you need to go under and select go under add component and search for camera and just choose the normal camera. and in here it will automatically add it as in the hierarchy as a child of the castle component. So basically this is like the hierarchy, and the camera is a part of the castle component, and we are going to move the camera up by using this viewport. Is basically like the scene one. You can do whatever you like in here, and I'm going to just move it forward to the place where the eyes of the players should be. So that looks pretty awesome. Now that basically makes our player, and now you can see we have got two more graphs in here. We have got an event graph. This will also determine stuff that happens in our game, actually using the node functionality of the blueprints. And we have got this construction script, which you don't need to worry about too much yourself. You can close this construction script if you want. And in here we have got our actual blueprint. So now you go under, so this is the viewport. You go under the event graph in here, and in here you can see we have got a bunch of stuff. And what you need to do, so basically we need to first learn how to move around in the graph. So basically if you right click, then you can move around, and if you just like click once and drag, you can select in a box, or you can just select whatever node there is, and you can use a scroll wheel to zoom in and out. And you can see that these are basically some nodes that they say are disabled. We are going to select all of them using box select and going to delete them. Now I'm going to, by the way, you can see this is the compile button. You need to compile it every time you actually, before you play. It will compile automatically if you play, but this compile button basically makes sure that everything is working in your game by, well, checking it basically. What we are going to do is we are going to right click and to create a new node, just hit right click, and what you can basically search from this huge collection of pre-built nodes, and you can actually go under categories to select them, and you can just search if you want to. And the node we want is so basically the idea is that we have got a bunch of events, and as those events go off, we can do different kind of stuff. So for example, for starting, we are going to search for begin play. Now you can see we have got an event begin play, and this is called as soon as a player enters the game. Now in this begin play event, we are going to go ahead and if you just click on this and drag out, you can see we basically can go ahead and place a new node, and this is an executable action, which means it's as soon as the game starts, whatever we put in here is going to happen. So what we need to search for is basically like a something that we actually want to do, and a good way of debugging, of testing, is to use the print string node. You can see here we have got print string. You select that this is a development only node. It won't appear in your actual game, but it will basically say something in here. And if you expand this node by clicking here, you can select the text color, like if you want to make it red, and you can like select the duration the text appears for by making it like 5 seconds. And this is basically print to log and print to screen options. So this text, this actual text here, the print string, it will basically display hello, and we can change the text here by clicking on this, by saying like hello, let's say the hello world guy, I guess, and this should actually display the hello world guy in red color now, and by the way, and this will display it in the red color in the screen, but it won't actually happen because currently we are still using the old pawn as our default player. We need to change that. Now for that you need to use something called a game mode. A game mode basically determines everything that happens in your game. It's basically like a global controller, and you need to create a new blueprint for that. And in here you need to go under all classes to access the comprehensive list of classes, and in here just search for game mode, and you can see this game mode, not the game mode base. Just select just the game mode and hit select. This creates a new blueprint. I'm going to call it our main game mode, and you can basically open this up, and this game mode you don't actually need to add any events in here, or basically you don't add anything in the actual scene. All you need to do is you need to change the settings in the default class defaults panel, in the details panel. So in here you can see we have got a default pawn class which is currently set to default pawn, but we can select our own player in here, and then our own player should appear in the game. But currently that does not happen because our main game mode is not activated. So in order to do that, open project settings and then go under maps and modes and select your own game mode that you created in the default game mode. As soon as you do that, you can hit play, and now our own player appears, and you can see that the hello world guy string appears in the top left corner for 5 seconds in red color. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. Now we are going to learn about movement in the character controller, and I'm going to stop my game. And the basic idea is, by the way, if I play, you can see I cannot move because we have not implemented that in our player class yet. So if I go under begin play, you can see it basically does this. Now there is another, I'm going to delete everything, there is another event called update. This is called, if you search for like event up, event tick, by the way, it's not called update, it's called tick. Now this event called tick is basically called continuously as the game plays, which means that basically it keeps it is called after the game start, it keeps getting called. So you can basically do it to do stuff that you want to be continuous. And in here, if we go ahead and use a function called add movement input, so you just select add and then movement input. Now this is basically what makes everything will make our thing move. And if you go under world direction, by the way, these are parameters of the actual function that we are using. So this is a function as is indicated by the F. Function is something that you can call, and even is something that you implement, and you will learn more stuff later. And you can see in here we have got this yellow thing called a world direction. Now this is basically a vector, and you should be familiar with what a vector is. You can see this is basically like a vector, the position of the object, because y and x and up. And if you go under here in the this basically needs to be a vector. You can specify x as 1 here, and it will make your player go towards the x. But if you go under here and say get actor forward vector, now this is another function that, but this is not the function that you call. It's a type of function that you use to get a return value. And what this basically does is it tells you which direction your player is basically facing. So this will make our player go forward. If I hit play, you can see that that is exactly what happens. But then we fall off, and yeah, basically and that's it. And if you change the scale value here to -1, then it will make your player go backwards. And you can see that's what's happening right now, and as soon as I go off, I kind of start falling down, and that's pretty awesome. So yeah, that we learned the basic of blueprint system in this video. I'm going to end this video here. In the next video, we are going to learn, we are going to actually use input to implement a perfect movement system, and then we will move on with our game. So yeah, nice, thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and also share this video with other people who want to learn Unreal Engine, and bye.